Evening, guys. I hope you're well. I'm back in the chair. I did see the comment last week from Luke about being a shit Bond villain, but I'll take it. I was going for Doctor Evil, to be honest, with the look and all that, but I'll take Bond villain for now. Right, on to the serious stuff. The event, I can't believe I'm actually saying this, and I don't want to hijack the clinic to talk about an event, but I need to give it some airtime. Please put the 16th of January in your diary. If you're an Academy member watching this, you should be. That event is going to be a very important event. Let's just say that there's going to be a lot of stuff that we announce going into the new year. Big stuff as well, massive stuff, as long as it all comes off in time, but it should do. We've got new services coming online in the new year, which if you're not at the event, you're not going to get access to it. It's as simple as that. I'm not going to say what it is right now because it doesn't really matter, because I want to keep you focused on getting ready for next year. But the point being at the moment is keep getting ready for next year. And then once we're into next year, we hit the event. Even if you're not sort of 100% ready, by the 1st of Jan, because although I'm trying to push everyone as hard as I can, I know that not everyone will, do it, basically. Let's call it what it is. And some people will hit January going, oh, fucking hell, still not done this, still not done that. So, yeah, it would be nice if you're not one of them people, because you're going to get FOMO next year in the Academy, fear of missing out, if you don't know what FOMO means. Because there's going to be a lot of stuff going on, obviously, Inner Circles beginning in January. The people that Lee has nominated for that have been invited. Like I said to you previously about Inner Circle, it's not me that gets to decide who comes to Inner Circle. Inner Circle members will get access to different parts of the Academy that normal members can't see. There's a lot more higher level, more advanced stuff in Inner Circle, and but it's not up to me to pick the people that I like and go, well, I'd want him there and I want him there and I want that person there. It's not working like that. The Academy works like you've got to work your way to that, basically, and then you will naturally get noticed, and then you will be selected or approached and offered the invite. You don't need to accept it. You might be happy where you are. You might not want to go to the next level. But for those that do, Lee will identify those people. So it's up to you and Lee to decide. I'm the third person in that decision. But that's a big deal for next year. There's a lot of stuff going on within a circle, which sort of leans into the gold standard membership as well. That is coming in January. There's loads of stuff happening, and I'm going to leave it until the event to talk about most of it. I don't want to spend the event talking about, us, because it's not about us. The event is for you that day. But what we will be doing at the January event is making the roadmap of success very clear. And there will be more things. The Academy next year will be completely different because there'll be gold standard membership. There'll be other things that I'll be telling you at the event that I'm not going to mention now. There's obviously the Inner Circle meetings, gold standard, and the other things I'm not going to mention. So I'm going to stop talking about it because I'll let it slip. But the point being is that you need to put 16th of January in your diary and make sure you're at that event. You will miss out on something that I'm going to offer at the event, because I reward people for coming to the events at the end of the day. I'm not going to, just send things out willy-nilly, and someone who's trying really hard and dedicating and engaging misses out to someone who's not. I think that, the people that are more not engaging shouldn't be at the front of the queue for these things. And, that's the way it is. That's how I see it as being fair. So get that in your diary. It is massively important. If you're serious about being in the Academy, I was going to say if you're serious about 2026, it's not about 2026. It's about, are you fucking serious about you? Are you serious about your business? Are you serious about yourself? Then if you are, then get to that event, basically, because you can't really afford to miss it on this occasion. You might not have been to one yet. You might have been to all of them, and you feel like I say this every time there's an event coming up, but it's true. The Academy's moving all the time. and you do need to come to the events to stay up to speed with, you know, what's happening, because it is evolving. It's evolving very quickly at the moment. But that being said, I do feel like it is going to steady out. I think that once we've got this next 3-4 months out the way, and we've got these next round of changes in place, I feel like the academy is going to be like that, in that form, for quite a long time, because there's not really much else after the next round of changes that we can do. Yes, there'll be things we can improve, but in terms of new services, in terms of how we're going to help businesses in 2026, which is a whole different play on what we've done before, there's not really much more. It's not going to change drastically after next year. There will be everybody will feel the difference between now and February, 100%. Only for those that want to push, that is, and you know. But yeah, I'm not going to say too much, because I feel like I'm just going to start going on about it and let it all out the bag. And some of it's not quite rubber stamped yet, and there's a few things that just need pushing over the line. But I'm 95% sure that by the time we get to that event, there's going to be some huge announcements and lots to talk about, and new services to talk about that will help you grow your business and take more shit off your plate, basically. So that's the event out the way. I know I've burned a few minutes on that, but I feel like it's really worth it. Get it in your diary. Make sure as soon as the tickets come out that you book one. They will be limited again, and there won't be room for everybody. So, you know, make sure that you stay in tuned to these clinics and lives. So when we do send the link out, which I don't know when it'll be actually, we normally say 6 weeks. Oh, I can't remember. A few weeks before. It's coming up anyway. It'll be soon. So, again, those of you that are in a circle will be coming to the meeting on the Monday as well. So it'll be a nice long weekend for you. I think it'll be a really good weekend actually, because you'll be able to get to the event on the Friday, absorb all that, and then have the weekend to think, oh, fuck, what does this mean for me? And the Monday's meeting will be really impactful then. And like I've said before about Inner Circle, is you're going to get access to parts of the academy once you've attended the meeting. So it's not like once you get invited, you get access straight away. You've got to turn up to the meeting. If you don't turn up to the meeting, you don't get access. It's simple as that. Again, we're not rewarding, lack of effort, because business doesn't work like that. You can't wing it. You can't just pay for things and expect things to happen for you. You've got to do stuff. It's about taking action. Business is all about taking action. So the action takers will always be rewarded, not by us. I'm just saying, in the world, in the universe in general, if you don't take action, fuck all happens. So you need to get to meetings, you need to watch these clinics, you need to stay in tune with what's going on around you. You are supposedly here to be a business owner, or at least transition into one. So yeah, you need to engage. You need to be in it to win it, and now's the time. And I'll tell you something else as well. We are going to grow the academy next year. We haven't really grown the academy for nearly 12 months now. We've sort of steadied it out at a certain number, still a fairly big number, but we are growing it next year. We are going to be bringing in new members. We are going to be attracting new people. This could mean competition in each local area, which I've always said before. Don't worry about the competition. I don't think you're a threat to each other. You're not. You work as one. I know you think, yeah, but well, he can take work off me. No, it doesn't really work like that, because there's plenty of customers going around, and the more people that we bring into the academy, the less competition you actually get from Ren and people like that. Do you get what I'm saying? Because they start to go down as we go up, and that's what we want. And the more people that join is good, because it means that less people are going to those people. Do you understand what I'm saying? So more academy members is good for you. It's not bad for you, but it's still something to bear in mind, that you want to be you want to be getting on the career, not the career path, but you want to be progressing through this academy now as fast as you possibly can, and making sure that, again, it's not a race. I'm not saying so when these new people come in, you're ahead of them, but there's a little bit of that you should be thinking about, where you're thinking, well, I want to be, well, especially if you want to be one of the leaders of the academy and seen as one of the better members and respected and mentioned, like I mentioned people frequently that are doing well, and I feel like everybody should be aiming at getting a mention, because why not? At the end of the day, we all want recognition for the things we do. Whether we accept that or not, I like recognition. I think it's nice. I like the feedback people give me when they come up to me at events and say, really appreciate what you're doing. And, because we put long hours in, it's a fucking graft. We all do. Do you know what I mean? So when you do get a bit of recognition, it's nice, isn't it? I'm not saying, you don't spin it like it's not an ego thing. It's just nice to be recognized for it. And, it's for someone else to recognize that you're actually trying. Sorry, I got a bit of a dry mouth tonight. So, I think there's those of you that have been here longer need to sort of look at it and go, yeah, do you know what? Because I think something else will happen as well is you'll be able to help other people. There's new members going to be coming in next year, and there's other ideas that I'm looking at around, the veterans of the academy, which is something that I don't mind saying this, although I probably shouldn't. But, I've said to Lee a few times, I feel like there's definitely, and it's been mentioned at events before as well, so it's not like a new thing. And it wasn't originally my idea. It was mentioned by you lot at an event last year. And the idea was that the more seasoned academy members would at some point be in a position to help newer academy members, in maybe a bit of a coaching sense. And maybe there could be something in return from us, like instead of us employing coaches, that, people within the community become the coaches. This isn't off the table. This is definitely something that I'm looking at. But I can't look at it if I haven't got the people in the community that are capable of doing it. Now, I'm not saying there isn't people that are capable of doing it, but what I'm saying is there needs to be more people that are capable of doing it, because, some of you are really good at specific subjects. Some people are really good at social media. Some people are really good at selling. Some people are really good at looms. Some people, do you get what I mean? So everyone seems to have their strength, and I feel like down the line, it'd be a really massive asset to you, potentially even financially, and to make yourself feel good that you're helping new academy members. And next year, we're going to look at this because new members will be coming through. There are multiple people on the coaching staff now, but I don't particularly want to go down the road of like random people coming in to help with the coaching. I'd rather it was us that did it and moved as one unit. So that's something to bear in mind. On top of everything else, that we are growing the academy, and you want to stay on top of it. You don't want to have new people come in and get 10 steps ahead of you when you've been here fucking 2 years longer than them. Do you get what I mean? It's like, and again, I'm not saying it's a race, but it just doesn't, that just wouldn't sit well with me. And I feel like I want you to just take these little bits away before we get into the clinic, and sort of have a little bit of a think about them. And something else, moving on from that now, so that's the event. I've given you a bit of insight, what I'm thinking about there, and obviously the importance of coming to the event. The importance of coming to the January event is probably on par with the October event, the last one we did, where we're planning for next year, which is always going to be the case. That event has been always is in. Well, I say always. We've done it twice. First time, I could have done it better, but I didn't think it was going to land as how it did. So that's why we went all in on the last one, and it was a really good event. I think loads of people have developed. There was people at that event that were not having a good time in life, and now they're having a good time in life, and that's what that event is about. It's about making you realize, come on, you need to get on it now, and stop fucking about. In some respects, stop feeling sorry for yourself. Stop being a fucking victim in some cases, and sometimes those words are harsh, but they need saying that. The old you isn't going to build the new thing. It's the new you that's going to do it. And when you're holding on to the old shit, it's not going to work. It's just not going to fucking work. So, and one of the things I want to talk about on that subject is, let's face it. Let's talk about our culture, because this issue has come up a few times, and I've dealt with these things in private. With varying degrees of success. I'll be honest. I'm not an expert on this subject, but it is our culture in the UK that we go to the pub, don't we? We socialise. There's alcohol is part of our culture, unfortunately, and it it should be fucking banned, alcohol. Is my first thought on it, because I know so many people. I've had friends, fucking hell, yeah, do silly things on under the influence of alcohol. I've got one of my best friends is an alcoholic, and I've seen it. I see it. He's doing all right now, ish. But again, it's a difficult nut to crack this, and I know that people struggle with it. Even if it's just recreational, it's still bad. You've heard at the event Josh talk about not stopping the alcohol. So if you've not watched Josh's interview, go to the YouTube channel and find the member success stories. Sorry, and look at Josh's, where he cut out the alcohol and stopped going out on the piss and all the rest of it, and his business has boomed ever since. But it's not something that it's quite a tricky one, because it is in all of us, this. And like I say, I've had friends do silly things. I mean, I had a friend years ago, fucking hell, I was talking to my mate about this a few weeks ago, and he committed suicide literally on a night out. He went home, fuck knows what I don't know, obviously fuck knows what he was thinking. Everything was supposedly okay, and went home one night. I'm not saying this is because of alcohol, but he was under the influence, and he did it while he was under the influence, and it's just a fucking awful thing. It's a toxin, right? It's toxic. It poisons your body and keeps you in a groggy state, whether you recognize it or not, for days and days and days afterwards. Your sleep for days afterwards is really poor. This impacts everything: your mood, your motivation, your discipline, your thoughts, your positivity, your negativity. It's a depressant. It's not a stimulant. Alcohol is a depressant drug, and it's a bad drug. And some people can do it and not get hangovers, not get moody, doesn't seem to affect them. Whereas other people do it and it does really affect them, but they still do it. And this is venturing into the realms of addiction. Let's just call a spade a spade. It's an addiction, and it's because I like a drink. I don't drink a lot, but on Saturday night, I was out. Wasn't out, but I was just in someone's house, and they said, "Oh, do you want a beer?" I was like, "Normally, I'm like, no, I don't." But I just did. I just thought, fuck it. It was only like small cans. Anyway, 4 cans later, and I was rough the next day. But we just do, don't we? And it's ingrained in us. And I remember the day after, like last Sunday, I woke up and I felt a bit ropey, and we went out for a Sunday dinner. And while I sat there, I thought, fucking kill a pint, me now. And I never think like that. I never think like that. I never do, ever. But because I'd had one the night before, and it's in your system, it's there, innit? Do you know what I mean? And it's just like, it's just in the back of your head going, go on. So fuck it, go on. You make reasons for doing it. You make excuses for doing it. And I didn't have one on the Sunday. I wanted one. Even I was thinking, I'll just have a shandy, just have a lemonade. I was like, no. Because these patterns that I've seen in myself before, and off the back of like talking about addiction and stuff like that, I've recently knocked coffee on the head. So I've stopped drinking coffee now completely, and I have matcha. So matcha tea. So I have matcha tea with coconut milk, or what's the other one? Oat milk, stuff like that. And it's so much better. Like, 'cause I used to crash really hard in the afternoons, like really hard. And I've stopped crashing in the afternoons now. So this, what I'm drinking here is green tea. So how boring is that? Looks like a pot of piss, but it's actually not very nice. But it's actually all right. Do you know what I mean? It's one of them where I have green tea, I have matcha. So I've completely knocked the coffee on the head. Now, the first few days of doing that were fucking awful. Me and my wife did it at the same time, and we both like, why have we got such bad headaches? I had really bad migraines and like sort of throbbing headaches. It took about 4 days to get off the coffee, but and to be fair, we didn't. The funny story here, this is the funny thing about this, is that I wasn't intending to come off coffee. and I'm gonna stitch all this back together in a minute. There's a reason why I'm saying all this. But I wasn't intending to come off coffee. We bought a coffee machine for a few £100 and it was shit. So we think there's a problem with it, and it was just making really weak shit coffee. So for a few mornings, we just didn't have coffee because it was, oh, fuck it. We just didn't have it in the house and we couldn't be asked going out. So we ended up just not having it. So for a couple of days, without realizing it, because the coffee machine was broke, we just had something else. So I can't remember what we did, but we didn't have coffee basically. And then we had these really bad headaches. And then because of the headache was that bad, like I said to her, I'm not fucking drinking it again. And she's like, why? I said, because now I've had that headache, I think when I go back on it, that's the price I'll pay if I ever don't have a coffee again. Do you get what I mean? So the association became so strong with these headaches for me that I'm just like, avoid caffeine now like the fucking plague, because the thought that I could have that again for 2 days, because it literally, I couldn't work, not very much anyway. I couldn't stare at the screen. I do a lot of filming. I've got lights in my face right now. I could not do that with a migraine. But coffee, what it made me realize is, oh, fucking hell, I was addicted to that. I was so addicted to it. And I didn't even realize. And at the end of the day, and I was speaking to my missus about it. She was like, well, it's only coffee. I said, but it's still a drug. Do you know what I mean? It's still drugs. Whichever way, just because it's legal, alcohol's fucking legal. It's still bad. Do you get what I mean? Just because, it is something that your body is craving, and it doesn't need it. It's just craving it. Same with sugar. Sugar and caffeine, again, are there. They're there. We want sugar. We're all addicted to sugar, whether we accept it or not. Sugar, salt, all that shit. We think that we're in control of our diets, and we're not. We think we're in control of things, and we're not. But when we talk about alcohol and things like that, which obviously is a bit of a stronger one, I think we've got to get control of our minds is the first thing. Yeah, we've really got to get control of our minds. And I still like a drink, still like to have a drink every now and then. I mean, I try not to, but I do. And I don't do it a lot, like hardly ever. But when I was really thinking to myself, right, I need to get off this now, because it fucks you up. Let me just tell you something straight to the bone here. If you don't get away from alcohol, you will probably, you definitely will not fulfill your potential. And that doesn't mean that you won't be successful in business, right? Because I know successful business people that are pissheads, but everything comes at a cost. Yeah. So, and even if you've got something going on in your life where you go, I'm doing it, because there's no consequences, or that you can clearly see, although you feel there's consequences, but they're not big enough to stop you from doing it. Because if they were big enough, you wouldn't do it. And that's easy to say, but it sort of ignores the addiction side. Do you know what I mean? So we can mentally say, if the consequences are big enough, we'll stop doing something. But then we've got the addiction bit to deal with. And that's addiction comes through patterns. Yeah. And again, I'm not a fucking expert on this, but I have got myself off alcohol, now coffee. I'm working on the sugar because I want to be independent and in control of my own mind. Yeah, I want to be in control of my own mind. And these things stop that from happening, and they make you do silly things sometimes. So I want to just go through some of the things that I did, because again, I'm not qualified to talk about these things, but they're definitely something that plagues tradespeople. These habits are mostly the thing. I would say alcohol's up there in the top 3 things that stop tradespeople in particular from becoming better versions of themselves, because it just is the culture, in it. The lad banter, the going to the pub, the football, all that bollocks. And in theory, the football and the pub and all that shit, you need to avoid it. Is the short way of, you need to find a different way to enjoy football, or go to the pub. I can't think of any productive friendship I've ever had that's come from a pub, ever. It's just a certain type of person that spends time in the pub. and it ain't the sort of person that you fucking want to be around, even if they are nice, even if they're lovely, even if they're dead friendly, they're missing something in their life that's making them sit in that fucking pub. All right, we all enjoy a bit of a pint every now and then, but every now and then for me is like every fucking 3 or 4 months, and even then it might not happen. Some people it's like once a week, twice a week, three. That is not a trait of someone who wants to be successful. It's a trait of someone who's got a problem to deal with. So, and again, let me just say something. When I first started my journey with this, when I was building the sales process that you now have and that you now use and all the things that the academy is, during the years of building that, I got pissed a lot, and I was that guy. Yeah, because what we do in the pub is we talk a lot of shit, and we have ideas, but we never follow through with them. I think I was probably one of the very few exceptions of the guy in the pub that was there quite a bit, but actually then went home and implemented some stuff. Now, hopefully, if you're the guy in the pub, maybe a little bit still or too much, wherever you are on that scale, if you're starting to become the guy that's going home and doing stuff, which some of you are, you're accepting that you've got this one problem, but you're also accepting that you're doing these other things. So you are transitioning, right? And it's painful because you're doing both. Yeah. And then this is the positive thing to take from this, is that you're doing that, but you're also doing that. And this is where I'm going to talk about this again in a bit with some of these check-ins, because we're doing this and we know we need to stop doing this, but we're also doing this, and we know we need to do more of this. And this is the same with labor only work and supply and fit work. Your own work, your academy work, and then your labor only work. You're in that bit between, and that's why the 12 steps is called the transition, because you're transitioning. You're going from one to the other. So what happens in that transition is your habits also start to change subtly and gradually over time. So the fact that you can sit there and go, I'm still doing a bit of the boozing, but I'm also doing these good things as well. That in itself is where you need to sort of look at and stand back and go, things are going in the right direction. And if you're sort of sat here going, as I know Phil and Darren, who we'll talk about in a bit, they're also in that transition of still doing this and they need to do more of that. But it's a good time. I know it doesn't feel like a good time, but it is, because I'm telling you it is, because I was there myself. But it's also where you can fall one way or the other, and you've got to be fucking careful, because you need to make sure that you are progressing in the right direction and transitioning. So anyway, back to what we're saying. I was that guy in the pub, and but what I did start doing was I started going home. Like I just said, started going home and doing stuff, getting things out of the way, and picking them off. And over time, things just gradually fallen away. When my purpose at work got bigger, or in my career or my business, whatever you would call it, when that got bigger, these things became less important. So that bit in me, do I like to go out sometimes and have a few cocktails? I want to do that most weekends, but I don't. Just because I'm saying I don't do it every 3 or 4 months doesn't mean I don't want to. Yeah. And I think this is the bit that you've got to sort of recognize, is that you're always going to want to. Yeah. There's going to be so many things. Being good at something isn't about the other things never happening. It's like when people, like, when we're at events and I'm coaching people, and it's like they think, these emotional responses come out from people. And I also feel those emotional responses. If I'm like having a really busy day and I'm like having a shit day, and I, might drive past the pub or see a beer garden full of people and think, fucking, I wish I was in there. But I'm not. I'm going home. I'm fucking, I'm on my mission, sort of thing. That thought still happened. Do you get what I mean? It's not that the thought doesn't happen. You're never going to sit there and go, oh, do you know what? I don't want a beer. Every time you think about having a beer, it's like even now, like if someone put a beer there and went, would you like that? I'm like, yeah, I fucking would. But I'm not going to. And that's the difference. The difference is not waiting for the thought to go away, right? The thought's not going away. It's the battle of doing the right things. Making the right choices is where the battle is. If you're waiting for the thoughts to them and the temptations to go away, they're not fucking going away ever. And the people that can't master that will be the ones that fail, because you've got to master it. So how have I mastered it? All I can tell you is how I've done it. And I know we're spending a lot of time on this here, but I've had this question a lot of times, and I feel like I needed to address this to give someone a reference point as well to come back to, because obviously these are recorded and they stay in the academy system. So it's good for us to come back to for future questions like this. So I can only talk about what I did and how I became the guy not in the pub anymore. No one's fucking seen me anymore. And, I got on with my business after that. Is one, you've got to get your hierarchy of needs in order. You've got to understand that, there is nothing more important than that business. And everything that you do that isn't for that business. It was funny because someone said the other day, like, oh, I own a business. I can't remember who I was talking to, but it was like, I own a business. And it was like, yeah. And I can't remember if I said it or I thought it, but I can't remember fucking what it was, but I remember thinking it. But I think I came up with this myself. I don't think anyone said this before, but in my head, I said, you've got to be owned by a business before you can own a business. And just think about that for a minute. You've got to be owned by the business before you can own the business. Yeah. And what I mean by the business has got to own you is that, well, I went all in for fucking years, and mainly because I did a lot of stupid things. You guys are getting success in 6 to 12 months when you do it, when you go all in. I was never going to get that because I didn't have a framework. I was making it up as I went along, and I fucked around a lot. It wasn't perfect. So it took me years of trial and error and periods of going, do you know what? I can't be asked for this. So it was piecemeal as well. So it wasn't like one crusade where I did it all in like one go. It was like a year here, right, fuck around for a bit again. I'll pick it up again. I'll do a bit more and, distracted with things. You get what I'm saying? So nothing's ever fucking perfect. And don't think that, I just mastered it immediately, because it just doesn't happen like that. But your business, well, when you decide to go all in and you go, right, all in, no fucking around, I'm going fucking all in. Because if you go all in for a year or two, right, maximum two, fucking probably maximum one, to be honest, because we've seen people do it in 9 months, when they go all in. I mean, when they get obsessed, when they go, I am fucking going in on this. And they just smash it, because the academy is very simple. It's not easy, it's simple. And the not easy bit is you up here, the bit that lives up here, the overthinking, the not feeling worthy, the getting distracted, the talking yourself out of it, listening to the wrong fucking people, not engaging with me and Lee, all the things that we tell you, that's the only thing that stops you. You're going to be the reason it works, and you'll be the reason it doesn't. Whichever way it fucking goes is up to you. No one's going to make it work for you, and also no one's going to take it away from you. So that's why it's completely in your hands, because no one can do it for you, but they can't take it away. You've got to just fucking do the stuff. So first of all, you've got to make a decision, in my opinion, if you're struggling with this thing, is to fucking just go all in. And you might go, well, I'm already all in, but go further in. Get obsessed. Don't leave yourself a fucking minute to think about anything else. Sacrifice everything. Cut people off. Anyone that can drag you into a bad decision needs to fucking go. Anyone that could invite you out for a drink needs to be fucking blocked. Anyone that you might bump into that you might think, oh, that's going to lead to some sort of social thing that I might drink at, then you need to just fucking get away from it. If you went all in on your business and went absolute fucking, dedication to health and your business, a lot of these things would have sort themselves out. But being a bit more technical than that, because that's a very broad brush, go all in. It's, you know, a bit too generic. So something that helped me, and I've got some notes here that I just want to go through. And again, a lot of this I picked up from a friend I've said who's a full on fucking alky. Who's getting a bit better now, but he does that for a bit and then he fucking goes back to it. But so this would be my advice as specifically an academy member. Yeah, so I'm thinking about a specific academy member piece of advice where if I was struggling with this now, what would I do? So the first thing I'd do is I'd reset my morning routine, like non-negotiable. This is the non-negotiable that you have to do, because it's like if you want to eat well and you want to sleep well, you more or less need, and you want to guarantee these results, you need to do your workout in the morning, because you need to do it as soon as you wake up. If you're going to work out and get fit and healthy, the only way to guarantee results is to do it first thing in the morning. Because if you don't do it first thing in the morning, there'll be days where you can't be asked, where you get to 2 o'clock or 3, whenever it is you were planning to do it, something will get in the way. And quite rightly so, the business will dictate some days that, no, you can't fucking do it because this has happened. You've got to go and sort it out. But if you'd done it at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, you'd be fucking done already. Do you get what I mean? So it's like the 90 minutes. You do them when they can't be moved, where you've done it and that's it. Nothing else gets in its way. Whereas if you're leaving it later on in the day and afternoons, and you know when you're fucking tired, you know you are, the chances of failure are high. You know they are a lot higher. But if you woke up in the morning and got your morning routine dialed in, and got the most important things done first thing in the morning, well, they can't not happen then, can they? Because they've already fucking happened. If they've happened before 9 o'clock in the morning, they've already fucking happened. So what happens that day almost doesn't matter. Do you get what I'm saying? You don't need to worry about, oh, I might not get to the gym this afternoon because you fucking did it this morning. If you do your 90 minutes in the morning before anyone else rings you, before anything else happens, you've done it. So it doesn't matter, does it? So that's the only way that you can ever guarantee success. And what we need to do with this particular problem is guarantee the success. So the morning routine reset is, and this would be mine, so 10 to 15 minutes. Well, that's probably a bit too long. I'd probably say 5 minutes of a cold shower, yeah, or a cold dip. So I used to have a cold dip in my back garden, which is like a refrigerated unit, and it pumps round. I've still got it actually, but again, I've not been using it as much because it's like I don't want to die outside at the moment. But a cold shower this time of year might be better. Again, you can use it. I'm just not down for fucking 8 degrees, to be honest. You know, or 5 degrees, whatever it is. It's a bit too cold outside, a cold dip for me anyway. So I think in the summer, you go back to the refrigerated unit, you know, when it's a bit warmer outside. And you can get these for about £1,000. Cost fuck all to run, bit of maintenance cleaning it. But the benefit of cold dipping is massive, and cold showers. So you wake up and do that, and then you do breath work for 5 to 10 minutes, slow breathing. So I have an app called Endel, Endel, and I love that app. I use it for my 90 minutes. You can set a timer on there to, right, I want to do deep work for 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes, and it calms your brain. And honestly, it's brilliant. I've been meaning to mention this app for quite a while. It's called Endel, Endel. If I'm doing a cold dip, a cold shower, I'm doing deep work, focused work, or just want to chill for a bit, do a bit of meditation, do a bit of breath work. It does like box breathing on there and stuff. I practically have it on fucking hours and hours and hours every day when I'm working because it zones me out. It really, really helps. So morning routine is the cold dip and the breath work, and then a short walk with no phone, just 1,000 steps, something like that, and go and think about what you're going to do that day. And if you're battling demons, go and think about that and fucking have that battle first thing in the morning. Don't let a bad day turn you into that fucking person you don't want to be. Get in front of that bad day before it becomes a bad day. You decide how that's going to happen. and you need to get in front of bad things that happen, because shit is going to happen, and you can't afford to relapse every time something bad happens. You've got to keep your head in the game. But if you're not really structuring your morning properly and you're being wishy-washy, then when something bad does happen, it's going to hit hard. So that cold dip, bit of breath work, short walk with no phone, stand on the grass outside if you can, do a bit of breath work, bit of grounding, stuff like that. So that's number one, is the morning routine. Switch off strategy. So choose one healthy evening cue instead of drinking. Walk, stretch, shower, journal, or go to the gym. There's 5 things there that you can do instead. And this isn't about waiting until you've had an urge and then rush to do it. This is, do one of those things every night. Go for a walk, stretch properly. There's apps to do stretching properly. Shower, cold shower again. Journal, write things down. Have you write down how the day's been. Journal's supposed to be really healthy for men's mental health. I would highly recommend it. Or go to the gym. You don't have to remove the reward. You just change what delivers it. Yeah. So you just need to get on with that and do something in the evening that's different. That, again, we're getting ahead of it in the morning and we're getting ahead of it at the night. We're not waiting for the urge to happen to then try and firefight it. Yeah. We're fucking dealing with, we're getting ahead of things. We're like we do with our business and our 90 minutes. We get ahead of the business and we become successful. And then if we have a fucking bad month, well, it doesn't really matter. We had a bad month, but as long as it's 80-20, we're fine. But if we don't take these proactive steps, when things land on us, they're going to fucking hurt and we're going to make silly decisions. So add in your standards workbook, I'd add a little tracker. So alcohol, exercise, and sleep. Maybe set it up on a spreadsheet if you don't want to use the workbook. And track your progress every day. Not perfection, just one day at a time. Exercise, sleep. Rate yourself out of 10 every day. And we're not trying to get perfection. We're just trying to reduce things. We're just trying to manage it. Yeah. If the urge is strong, focus on replacement, not restriction. You've already mentioned, obviously, we've already mentioned, fitness that works really well. So you've got to use that momentum, but you've got to protect that fitness with sleep, hydration, and that morning intention. You've got to get ahead. You've got to get these new things plugged in. So that's all good. Yeah, that's all good. That, I think, would reduce things by 90% if you were consistent with that. And at this point, we're not talking about the alcohol being a problem. At this point now, we're talking about how consistent can we be with that routine. If we can be consistent with that routine, the alcohol problem will be minimal. So what happens when it still happens, even if we're doing all that stuff? Because let's face it, we're not perfect. It's going to happen. Shit will still come to us. So if it does happen, if you have a rough day, don't judge the day. You need to contain it. You are allowed to have a bad day, but not a bad week. Yeah. If you slip, you just need to acknowledge it and don't stack the shame on top of the slip. You've had a bad day, fucking move on. That's number one. The rule here is the next morning. So if we have a bad day, if that does happen, we go straight back into the routine. Don't fuck about. Be straight back in, no matter how rough or groggy we are. We're fucking cold dipping in the morning, or we're cold showering. We're doing breath work. We're doing the 10-15 minute walk. We're having water. We're hydrating. We're starting fresh, and we're gonna no, fuck that. Because although these bad things happen, when they do happen, it's one of the best times for a bit of a recovery from it. And one slip doesn't delete all the progress. You've built a habit, or we all have, shall we say, over decades, and you're not going to break it in a week. And you've got to be realistic with yourself that one bad day out of 14 is not bad. It's like, allow yourself. Don't treat yourself to a piss up. That's not the key. But if something goes wrong and it happens, then make sure that we don't forget all the other days where we were good. We need to remember that more than anything, and track the wins, not the failures. So that's it, really. I think that you got to track the wins, not the failures. You're going to have bad days no matter where anyone is at in this battle. And I'm sorry if you've watched this and you're bored because you're thinking, I don't even drink and I've listened to all that. When's the check-in starting? Well, this problem is a business problem, and it needed covering. And I know I've spent half an hour on it, but it's a big issue. And there will be future Academy members that come in with this problem, and this video is going to serve them for a long time. So that's it. I'm not going to go on about it anymore. That's my advice. You've got to get control of it. Like everything else in life, you've got to be proactive. It's not going to fucking sort itself out by anything else other than taking action and doing things and getting that morning routine, evening routine, not beating yourself up when it happens and getting straight back on it if it does. Crack on, basically. And anyone who I've spoke to about that in recent weeks, months, even years now, if you want to drop me a message privately, I'm more than happy to have that discussion with you. Right, well, let's get into the check-ins, the main ones. We covered quite a bit tonight already, haven't we? So let's get into Phil first. Phil Collins. Just going to make a note where that is. 40. Okay, right, mate. Let's get cracking with yours, Phil. Right, so celebrating wins. What success have you experienced over the past few weeks? This is my first and well overdue check-in. Yeah, it is. Kitchen Supply and Fit won and completed the 5-star review is received. That's really good. The bit you're missing here is the case study. Make sure you do a case study for every 5-star review. And let me tell you that obviously you're in Academy Plus, so make sure you send it in and we'll get that case study uploaded and we'll get it optimized, because that's where your brand is built. All of your brands are built on 5-star reviews and case studies. Honestly, like, I'll be talking more about this at the event, because again, I think people think that the only 2 words that I'm having my vocabulary are blogs and case studies. But fucking hell, you know, it's not a lie. It really isn't. It really isn't, especially with AI now. AI is crawling your websites all the fucking time. And the amount of people, I say the amount, there's a handful, but in statistics, it's a lot in terms of a percentage, that the amount of people that keep saying to me, oh, I've had another lead and it's been recommended from ChatGPT. Well, why do you think that's happening? You know, it's not even somebody crawling the internet. It's somebody asking ChatGPT, and ChatGPT is going, use this company. Why do you think ChatGPT is doing that? Because it can see on your fucking website that you've got Google reviews, links to a case study. People are saying good things. The customer's asking who's the best in the area. The ChatGPT goes, him. But if that fucking case study in the blog ain't there, or whatever it is, whatever that content, they fucking can't see you, can they? Do you get what I'm saying? So yes, you need to make sure that when you got these 5-star reviews, you're doing these case studies. 12-step transition, where are you up to with this? How are you finding it so far? Keeping on top of my 90 minutes, watching modules and completing the tasks. Brilliant. I want to see that completing the tasks bit always in there, because people will say they watch the videos and then they're still not fucking moving. It's like, well, it's not just about watching the videos. And I've said this a million times as well. You know, do the tasks. So well done for that. Scorecard and cash flow sheet. Where are you up to with these? Been filling this in for the past 2 to 3 weeks now, and part of my routine. Brilliant. You haven't provided me a scorecard to look at, but I trust that you're doing it. Personal growth. What progress have you made in a personal level? Back in the gym a couple of evenings a week. Massive. You know, that's going to push you on. Areas for support. Need to stay focused on the 90 minutes. Push on secure and more of my own kitchens. Working through modules 1 to 3 and completing the task. Brilliant. Any major concerns? Do you have any major worries? Extremely busy on labor only work. This can sometimes take over and I lose focus on working in the business. Hard to juggle everything, still on the right side of it, but I find myself running up my own ass. I'm going to come back to this in a minute. Looking ahead, what's the plan? How can we best support you? Need to interact with you guys more. Yes, you do. Regular check-ins. Yep, just keep them coming. Keep focused on my 90 minutes. I'm working on the business. Now, it's funny, isn't it? Now, I want to sort of, because what I can pick up from your check-in overall, because what I do, I read your check-ins first, and then I do like a bit of a note summary for what I want to say to you, sort of overall, because there's not really a point in one of those bits I need to sort of pull up. It all looks and feels okay. But what did I say a minute ago about when you're getting pulled in 2 different directions? You're doing this work over here and you're doing your labor work over here. But what you've done, and you'll admit this yourself, is you've joined, you've done your bits, you've stayed busy, but you've not done this as much as you should have done. So when you start doing it, this is what people say: I'm running up my own ass, you know, and you're doing all the right things. There's green shoots here now because you're doing your 90 minutes, you're doing the task, you're burning the candle at both ends. And for a certain period of time, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to do for a little while. Like I said a minute ago, go fucking all in. Be tired, let it wear you out, but the rewards on the other side of it are fucking huge. And it's a learning curve. This is development now for yourself. You know, this is where, unfortunately, some people get to your point and then go, do you know what? It's too hard. I'm just going to go back to labour only work. And they give up on the dream. Don't let that happen, please. You know, make sure that you. I always say this to people: there's always two options in life, right? And it's never the easy one that takes you where you want to be. I've. It's like the alcohol thing, isn't it? Going to the pub or having a beer is the easy option, but it's not taking you where you want to be. The not having a beer and doing the hard stuff is taking you where you want to be, but it's the harder option. And it's the same thing with you now. You've got two things you're doing: labour only and the academy. And there'll be times where you're like, fuck, really? I could just get rid of one of them and ditch it. But what you can't do at the moment is you can't get rid of the labour only because that's not moving enough. So the only thing you could do is get rid of the academy and fall back to that. That's the easy option, isn't it? It's a lot easier to do that. A lot easier. But if you're pushed on, you can get rid of this and keep that. And that'll be the harder option in the short term, but in the long term, that'll be the one that pays off. And that's the thought I want to leave you with here. And for everyone watching this, that, you know, it's easy to quit. It's not easy to push through. You know, it's not easy to get outside your comfort zone and perform and do it. You know what I mean? But yeah, just don't get pulled back in the wrong direction because, you know, I know people's heads wobble at times because it's tough. You know, it is tough. You know, and it is because you've got to dig in. But what I want to sort of circle back to is that you don't need to dig in for that long. When you go all in properly and you get the help, you speak to me and Lee, you use your 12 steps group properly. Every time you got a problem, you speak to us. Everyone that's successful, our most successful members are the ones we speak to the most. Like, people would think that all the people that are doing really well, they don't ever speak to Aaron or Lee. They speak to us more than anyone. And you might be sat there going, "Oh, I just need to speak to people a lot at the beginning, and once I've got the hang of it, I won't need to speak to people anymore." And people go through phases. Don't get me wrong. Like, you have a spurt where, you know, we talk a lot and then you get on with it. Then you might have a couple of months of keeping quiet and just getting your head down and doing bits. And then things change again. Then you sort of come back in for a bit more help, and, you know, we have a few more conversations and whatnot. But the common denominator is that the people that we have the most conversations with and engage with us the most are the ones that do the best, you know. And the people that are really quiet don't seem to do as well. I do know why that is. Do we need to go into it right now? Maybe. Maybe I will. I just think that sometimes people still don't have their ego under control. I think that they still think, oh yeah, well, I'm going to dip in the academy, I'll do this, do that, but I'm just going to do things my little way, and I'm just going to, you know, they have a problem with asking for help as well, you know. And I think there's a few things there. Whereas, you know, we're not going to judge you for asking for help. We do give a shit, but we get asked a million questions a day. Your one question that you think is stupid isn't going to make us bat an fucking eyelid, because we have loads of people asking us questions. But the people that just get over themselves and ask the fucking question and just, okay, that's what I've got to do. That 30-second conversation with me or Lee could save you weeks. Yeah. And when you're not having these conversations, because even the best members that you've heard me talk about all the time ask me questions all the time. even the ones that are doing loads of jobs and the ones that are doing really well, they ask questions all the time. Oh, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Because they've learned, right, through their own blueprint of success now, that speaking to Aaron and Lee and the academy team actually saves me a lot of time, because it makes my ideas that are based on lack of experience, that I think were good at the time, but then when I ask someone who really knows what they're doing, they might go, yeah, you're right, or no, you're wrong, do this instead. And that's all it's about. You're not always going to be wrong, but sometimes you will be wrong. More often than not, you will be wrong. Or you just need a little bit of a tweak to the idea and off you go again. But when you don't come for that help and advice, and you don't properly follow the academy, and you do things that aren't quite in the academy, and then you wonder why 6 months has gone by and fuck all's changed. This is what happens. So yeah, I want to sort of put that out there to everyone, that yes, you need to stay tuned into us. You've got to lean on experts. Don't, no one's come into this as an expert, have they? No one's come into this knowing it all already. You came here to learn, and if you're not learning, then what you're doing? Because you're wasting your own time, aren't you? So let's not waste our time. We haven't got fucking, we're not going to be alive forever. Let's make the most of it. Let's build these businesses and get them going. But other than that, mate, the green shoots are starting to appear, not just in the business. And you might go, well, the business isn't, but I'm talking about you. I'm not talking about the people's businesses. Your business is what it is. The thing that matters is you. If I became shit tomorrow and had a really bad attitude, how long do you think it would take for this business to suffer? It would suffer instantly. So when I see people change, I know that the business is going to change. I don't need to worry about the business. I say this to Lee all the time, about when we're talking about people and, someone's got a problem or this, that, the other, or someone's whinging about something or doesn't agree with something or whatever the fucking thing might be. But, if the person changes, the business, it doesn't matter. And that's where people say, look at me and go, they almost don't worry about the academy and the future of the academy, because they know that me and my team are fucking good at what we do. And that confidence is what makes people relax. Do you know what I mean? So, and it's the same with you. When we see you sort of developing and changing, we go, that business will be okay, because that person is developing and changing, and that is what we want to see. There's, I've said it before as well. If we've got to keep emphasizing why it's important to do your social media, why it's important to do this, why it's important to do that, why it's important, it's not the fact that you're not doing it. It's not the thing that you're not doing that's the problem. It's the fact that you're not doing it. And when people just start doing it, it works fine. So we were looking at the person first, and with a few of you tonight, the people are developing, and that is all that matters. The business will be fine if you develop. The business will be fine if you're the one that develops. Okay, so just keep going. Right, we're moving on to Darren Norton now. Norton Kitchens and Bathrooms. So, celebrating wins. What successes have you experienced over the past few weeks? Sold my first KBB kitchen, had delivered and fitted. Recorded first looms for another customer for kitchen, utility and bathroom. Customer happy with the initial quote and wants to go ahead. Got design session booked in to iron out the details. Commented on how she liked the video thing. Customers love it, mate. Always have been fairly competitively priced. Have put prices and markup up, and customers keep saying yes. Good, they will. Have learnt that as long as you can show value, people are not bothered about price. They're not, mate. And I'm not going to spend 10 minutes on that, but you fucking hit the nail on the head. If you demonstrate the value you offer, the price is the price. Closed on a bathroom, which we are fitting in December. Customer was adamant on her budget. In the end, she opted to go with us and spent 150% of her budget, as she trusts us to deliver what she wants. She has foregone the car upgrade she had budgeted for, and in addition has accepted a quote for a partial rewire from us. Also, the plumbing, heating and electrical installation. Yeah, I know you do that as well. Another home survey just conducted, started collecting 5-star reviews, moved out of our storage containers, shared with my other business, to a small industrial unit in a prominent position that could be a good design studio for the future. Started using subcontracting kitchen fitted second fixed joiner who seemed to be really good. Well, there's loads there, mate. That is a really good update. And there's the last 2 events that you've been to now where we've had pretty good chats, haven't we, about, you needing to get your head into gear and start thinking properly. And I'm really proud, mate, to be honest, that, you where you are now, and you're starting to see these, that what we say is true, basically. That, it's easier than you think when you get into it. 12 steps transition, where you up to with this? Step 3, finding it good. Brilliant. Scorecard and cash flow sheet, just working on these now. Okay, you've not attached anything there. Personal growth, just completed my Gainsborough and Morton half marathon despite having a bad back. I've trapped my sciatic nerve, just missed out on a PB despite having to limp the final 5K back as my back went. Well, the thing is, mate, you didn't stop. Most people with a bad back would have gone, you know what, I can't finish this. And the fact that you've just kept going just shows what sort of person you are. And again, what I've just said a minute ago about the people reflect the business. The business doesn't reflect the people. It represents the people, but it doesn't reflect you. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like, when you have this attitude, your business will do well. And that's where things are going. I think with you, it's like a case of there's just been a few knowledge upgrades in certain areas that have gone, do you know what? Because you're busy anyway, successful guy, to start with. So now these extra bits are falling into place. It's like you got the perfect foundation now to really push, and it's really exciting. I'm really excited to see where you go now. Areas for support. Is there anything specific you need help with right now? Not at the moment. However, Sunday night streams are very inspiring. Thank you. Keep them coming. Just reinforces that you don't need to do anything special. Just be consistent and put the effort in. Yeah, I mean, exactly the case. None of them interviews, me or anybody in those interviews is exceptionally clever. We're not exceptionally clever. We just stick to our guns. We just do it, just get on with it. And yeah, I'm glad that you're picking up on that. And it's something I've hammered home quite a few times. So any major concerns? What do you have, any worries or challenges you'd like to discuss? Right. Okay. So you've got a bit of a dodgy back for the last 13 years, slipped a disc, trapped sciatic nerve. When picking up a pair of players, regularly get flare-ups that tend to subdue within a few days. Really bad now for the last few months with very little let up. Having physio, can prescribe some nerve blocking meds, so hopefully that will ease soon. Sitting down or stood up, same position, then a few minutes really sets it off. So 90-minute sessions in the office aren't always productive as they could be, as it often interrupted with stretches. Maybe a standing desk may help. I've got a standing desk, even though I'm sat down sometimes on the streams. This desk does rise and fall. I wouldn't be without that. So it's really good, because in whatever mood you're in, you can still keep working. So having to diversify my 90-minute sessions, sometimes whether it be laid in the sofa and the laptop and the earphones, or just doing cumulative short sessions to make sure I'm heading in the right direction. Sometimes my first couple of hours on site have been a washout and can barely move. I've actually had a customer who saw me crawling out of the van and started doing some stretches on the driveway at 7:30 in the morning. God knows what the neighbours thought. I've been started to trying to upskill the plumber and the apprentice to take on more varied a range of tasks. They seem to like the variety, and it takes the pressure off me. I've also got another decent tiler and a joiner, so the business can run without me actually on site. So a bit of pain there. I'm not a doctor, but I can tell that you're having a bad time with that. So there's got to be a solution there. There's got to be. Go private if you can, because the NHS is fucked. So I would personally just go private, go and see a private specialist, see what it's going to cost, deal with it, make it happen. Good that you're upskilling people as well, getting yourself away from the weeds. Looking ahead, what's the plan? How can we best support you? Working through all the 12 steps by the end of the year and applying them. Brilliant. I can tell, again, these last couple of check-ins, Phil and Darren, just green shoots. That's what I put on my notes, is green shoots here that and not in the business. Well, I'm in the business, but it's the people. The knowledge and the language is changing, and the awareness of things around is becoming stronger. Is becoming businessy, as it should be, not tradesman talk. So really good. These check-ins are getting better. They really are. Who have we got next? Let's move on. Right. So well done for that, mate. Yeah, really good. I think there's loads to come from you. I'm interested to see where it goes, like I said, and make sure that you are keep your check-ins coming in, okay? So Everton next, Invicta Bathrooms. So celebrating wins, getting to the end of a bigger project. Let me just move this screen over here. Getting to the end of a bigger project, so getting paid out on those. In the process of which accreditation, nearly approved, so should be which by the middle of December. Brilliant. And there's going to be a massive push on which in the next few months. A lot is going to be revealed around that. And if you're watching this and you've not gone for which, if I were you, I'd start doing it now. More to be revealed around that, but you need to be doing it. 12 steps transition. Where are we up to with this? How are you finding it so far? I've implemented some of it, but I'm going back to step 1 on the new content I did. Yeah, there was only a few bits, but definitely worth watching. I did talk about them last week on the live, so you can go back and see what they are. Scorecard and cash flow sheet. Scorecard, no, cash flow sheet's dirty to build it out. I know you're still quite early on, so get the cash flow, get the scorecard in, mate, as soon as you can. Okay. Personal growth. I've started to get up earlier consistently and working out regularly. So I lost a couple of kg, which is nice. Yeah, you looked fresh at the event. You looked sharp, so it's good. That's what you need to be in business: sharp, not blunt. Areas for support. Is there anything specific you need help with right now? I would like help pricing in the cash flow sheets. Right, okay, so I need more detail. Put a note or a call into your WhatsApp group. And I know you sent this check-in on the 27th, so I don't know if you've had a conversation with Lee yet about this, but again, on your major concerns, you just put getting through the steps. Looking ahead, you've put what's the plan? How can we best support you? A call to discuss would be great. That's okay. That's fine. Lee will book that in and get a call in. If there's anything that you two can't sort out between you, I'm more than happy to jump on it as well. But yeah, the pricing in the cash flow sheets. I think the pricing in the cash flow sheets is, a few people say this. I feel like sometimes you need to probably spend a couple of 90-minute sessions watching them videos, and because maths is difficult, it's a fucking pain in the ass. But there's only them three, as I say in that maths lesson, there's only 3 numbers you need to know. It's fuck off. You've got your turnover, your gross profit, and your fixed costs. They're the 3 big numbers in business, and you can work one number off, knowing the other 2. So, yeah, you've got to persevere with this. The pricing, the cash flow sheets, you've got to persevere with it. Don't skim over it and don't half do it. You've got to make sure that this goes in. Yeah, this is really important. So, although you're finding it a bit difficult, get the support call booked in. Make sure you're doing it, and make sure you don't skip past it without doing it properly, okay? Because it really isn't, it really is critical, this. You've got to make sure you understand those things, especially if you've got ambition, because, yeah, all right, early days, you can get away with it. You can sort of wing your cash flow a bit, and you can, if you're only just getting going, you could probably get away with it. But what people normally do is they do what I've just said. They don't fucking do it. And then when they start getting busy and they get a few deposits landing in the bank and they go, fuck, I don't know where I'm up to. I'm going to start doing my cash flow sheet. Quick, fucking hell, right, let's get on it. And then they're already in a fucking tailspin at this point. And it isn't ideal. So while the pressure is lower, it's good to learn these things, because once the pressure starts to build, you want to just be able to absorb it without flapping. And, if you don't know your numbers in business, then you don't run a business, do you? And that's why I worry a little bit sometimes about the people in the academy that still and I'm talking about people that, if I said the names, you'd be fucking surprised at, who still don't quite understand sometimes the difference between markups, margins, using the cash flow sheet properly, and yeah, it it could go wrong for people. Let's just put it that way, because if you don't get on the cash flow sheet very early, so even if you're not doing KBB, your own jobs yet, whatever, you need to be putting everything on there. So even if you're doing labor only jobs, put the labor only income into that sheet. Make sure you've got everything, you're tracking it. So just because you're not doing all supply and fit jobs yet doesn't mean you shouldn't be using that sheet. You should be using it anyway. Everybody should be using something like that. If you're self-employed, fucking hell, you're not tracking your cash, you're not tracking your income. You're not fucking, do you know what I mean? It needs to be done. And this is why we end up fucking staying skint for far too long, because we just don't know the numbers. So yeah, that's just a little side note for everyone there to make sure that you are doing it, no matter where you're at. Right, okay. But other than that, mate, yeah, you're doing fine. I've got no concerns with you. Just keep going, keep checking in though, yeah. Right, next we've got Matt from Shawbreak. I always get we've got a few Shaws who start with the name. There's Shawfit and Shawbreak. I sometimes get the names mixed up, so I do apologise if I've ever said anything wrong. But I do know yous. I do know your names. I just get them mixed up when I'm reading them. Right, so let's go through this one. Celebrating wins. What successes have you experienced over the past few weeks? I finally got finance sorted, and it's being put on website shortly. Ordered new work gear with all the new services on, which HIP logos. Also ordered some smart polo shirts and a fleece for surveys. Brilliant. I have 10,000 leaflet drop going out over Xmas. New Year break with a promise of 5,000 free if I receive no leads. I'm looking at a few offices to keep work and the home a little separate and stop disturbances. So had a great visit to the KBB showroom, walked away a bit more confident stepping into 2026. Brilliant. So that's all really positive stuff. And I'm going to come back to this check-in because it's quite a holistic. I want to sort of dwell on this check-in a little bit because there's a few key points in here that I want to talk about. I'm it's 12 steps transition. Where are we up to with this? How are you finding it so far? I'm bouncing between step 4 and 7 right now. I'm just really trying to get that brand in people's minds. Scorecard and cash flow sheet. Are you using these? They're critical. I'm using both. My November predictive was actually very bang on. Besides a few unexpected costs. Personal growth. I've been really struggling with the anxiety of failing or letting people down for a while. It's been quite nice recently because I felt like I'm getting somewhere as I tick things off, like which 12 steps, CSVs, leaflet, uniform, etc. More socials for me, getting the van wrapped. Okay, I'm going to come back to these things, so I'm just sort of skimming over them. Areas for support. It's been a very stressful few weeks, but slowly getting on top of things. Lots of surveys going out, mainly bathrooms, but conversion is not great. That's not a surprise this time of year. I'm adding numbers based on past experience, but people don't seem to realise the level of work goes into stuff. It's fucking irritating, mate, but it is what it is. They literally choose from the catalogue and then are shocked at the price of the products that I fucking discounted the RRP. I know Lee's working on a pricing list to compare my quotes. So, firstly, on on the list that Lee's putting together, major concerns you've not put any. You've sort of already mentioned them, so there's nothing else to talk about other than those things. I'm going to looking ahead. What's the plan? How can we best support you? I'm going to push on with the steps, social, getting reviews. I'm looking forward to the pricing from Lee and other contractor quotes from Lee because other contractor quotes are ridiculous and I can't get close. Okay, I'm just trying to book up January next year. Right, okay. So there's a few things I want to sort of circle back on here and sort of recognize you for. And I want to start with the whole struggling with the anxiety of failing or letting people down. Yeah. You have achieved a fucking lot, right? A lot. You're rich. You're doing all the right stuff. You are making sales. And when we do big things in life, right? And this is what I think for you. This is just one to one. I know there's people watching, but if you were sat here right now, this is what I'd say to you. you're having an identity crisis, right? And we all do this when our business starts to move and things start to grow. Because when we're achieving good things, all the things you've got planned out in front of you, but what you're seeing is that success isn't, it's not sunshine and rainbows. Yeah. It's tough. And your identity is changing as a person, as all the things that you are in the world, right? You're becoming a more successful guy. You're becoming more dialed in. So things start to change in your mind. Things start happening. Things start dropping off. You thought, fucking hell, question this, question that, fucking hell. Blah, blah, blah. It's fucking all over the place. But what you got to do is stand back. Yeah. You become a witch trusted trader, which is not something many people can do. You've got leaflets going, you're thinking and saying all the right things. I'm picking up on someone here. I've coached, mate, a lot of fucking people, right? And I would be dead straight and say, you're full of shit, or there's things you need to work on. The language and what I've seen from your sales and the way that you conduct yourself in general and just the way you are as a guy is you have got everything that it takes to be who you want to be, right? You are not going in the wrong direction here. I know it feels like it, but that's just because we're having this identity crisis because so many things are changing. You know, you've been to the event in October, probably a bit of my fault that you've just gone for it. And this is the pain we have to go through to get where we want to get. We just can't avoid it, you know, and you just need to be told sometimes that that it's going to be okay. Yeah. Sometimes someone just needs to look at you and go, it's going to be okay. Right. And it is, you know, it's going to be okay. You're building a nice business here. You're building the right environment for your future to be successful and happy. You know, you're doing everything that you need to do. I can't pick up anything in this where I'm going, you're not doing that. You're doing it all. You know, you're putting yourself under a lot of pressure as well. So I think that that's okay. That's good. You know, but pressure makes diamonds. And that's what we get when we put ourselves under pressure. We achieve things, you know, and you'll hit Christmas, try to spend it on your business, you know, that quiet time. I've said it on the last live, you know, when the next period comes now where it goes suddenly quiet, when it, boom, fucking Christmas, right? What now? You know, resist social things, stay focused on your business. You know, dial in on the morning routine. While you've got nothing to do, well, less to do for a couple of weeks, get the fucking morning routine sorted out. You know, get everything on track that's not on track. Get everything done that needs to be done. You know, make sure that anything that you are lacking needs to be implemented in that period of time. Yeah. So get your evening routine sorted out, get your diet supplementation sorted out, because you're hitting this hard. I can see it. And I'm talking to you at that level now that, you know, you're heading into 2026 prepared, ready to go. Yes, there's some things bugging you in your head. But this anxiety of letting people down, that's just because you raising up, because the identity before was there wasn't really much to let down. Maybe, I don't know, but why are we feeling that now, but maybe we weren't feeling that before? Is that a new thing? If it's a new thing, then it makes sense because, I mean, you probably always felt like that, but it's probably being exasperated now because you're pushing into something new and there's no guarantee of success. So when there's no guarantee of success, again, the ego inside us, and you might be thinking, fuck off, it's not my ego, but it is, because, and we all have it, mate. This is we all do it because we start doing well, and then we go, oh, yeah, we're doing all right, and then things start changing. Then we have a few little wobbles, and something quite doesn't go. Fucking hell, the ego goes, oh, you're gonna look like a right cunt. Do you know what I mean? You're gonna look stupid. Oh, so your identity starts to fall apart. Do you get what I mean? Because you think shit, and you know you might let yourself down with this, or that might happen, and this, and then well, you feel like you've been doing well for a few months, and then all of a sudden, bang, and your ego comes in and tries to protect you. Do you get what I mean? Because your ego protects you from looking stupid and feeling bad and all that stuff, you know, because we want to look perfect all the time. But you've put your cards out there, you know, and you've said what you need to say to get the advice you need to get. And that's what these check-ins are for, and that's what I'm here for. And that thing about letting people down, mate, is real, you know, and it's healthy as well, you know, because look at the things you're achieving. So in all this, what you've put in here, right, in this check-in, the anxiety of failing and letting people down is what drives all of this. So if you took it out of the equation, why would you be bothering? You wouldn't, would you? You know, like, I don't want to let our academy members down. I don't want to let my family down. I don't want to let you know, staff down. I don't want to let the company down. I don't want to let you down. I don't want to let anyone down. But does that give me anxiety? Yeah, sometimes. You know, when we've got an event coming up, I'm like, right, I need to do a good day for everyone. You know, I want to make sure everyone gets what they needs out of it. There's anxiety attached to that, and it's not nice. But without it, I'd probably do a much shitter job. And the same will go for you. Is that one thing that you've put there is the thing that, if you looked at the machine, that's the fuel, because that's the thing that makes you go, fuck it, right? We're doing it because we're not going to let that happen. And that's fine. You know, we all run off fear a little bit. We all run off fear a little bit, or a lot sometimes. So I'm definitely not looking at that like that's an issue for you. You've got to learn to use that properly, and you are using it properly. You're just probably not realizing that you're using it because you're just doing stuff, but deep down. So you're doing stuff, you're achieving stuff, and this is where the identity crisis thing creeps in, because it's like you do stuff, you push on, then you pull back a bit. You're like, right, I've done that now. And then these worries and things start to, oh, fucking hell, all these things, you know, because you've given space to rise to the top, you know. So, and this is where what I would probably do for you, in what I'd probably advise you for you to do over Christmas as well, is dial in on your routine. And what I think you should do as well, and I think everyone should do this, is do a vision board for next year. Yeah, go on Canva, some sort of piece of software, or at least write it down on notes, or get a group of pictures on a A4 piece of paper and do a vision board. Put on your vision board all the things you want to happen next year, and or even for the next couple of years, you know. And it's scary how these things happen. Yeah, and get your brain focused in. Go back to your declaration here, and why did you join this? Why are you trying to bet yourself? Why are you trying to build this business? Why are you trying to do all these things? Why you're trying to do these things is there's reasons for it, and that's the reason for it. So go back to your declaration and go, yeah, I want to fucking do these things. What did you put on your declaration that if you didn't achieve it, these are the people that would be affected? Why do we make you say these things? Why do we ask these questions? Because it gets you dialed in on, yeah, there will be consequences for people if you let them down. There'll be consequences for you, but it's not death, you know. And I'm not saying we think like that, or we're not going to fail anyway. But the point being is that little bit of burn of a fear inside us is healthy. You know, just use it the right way. Do a vision board. Go back to your declaration. Make sure you spend the Christmas period dialing into your routine and not getting distracted with anything else. And give yourself some mindful days out to reset, because you need a mental reset. You know, you need to use that 2 weeks. If you can get a holiday booked in the UK, you know, just a break away from everything for 4 or 5 days in a lodge, a caravan, you know, in a countryside. I used to do that a lot at Christmas time, in December, you know, just in Lake District or some place, you know, within a drive of where you live, that you can just go and, you know, a lodge with a hot tub or something like that, you know, for a few nights and just fucking chill out. You know, and just stay, you know, get the breath work in, you know, get your mind reset, get the long walks in, you know, push yourself in those ways to reset mentally and, you know, physically and spiritually, because you need to get into this new year with this mindset a bit more settled. And nothing's ever going to be perfect, you know, but we can get a lot closer to it. And I think a lot of it is just habits, you know. Old habits die hard, don't they? So we need to just dial into that extra step. So the other thing I want to just cover with you, mate, is customers pushing back on price. So there's two things I want to mention here. One, this time of year, customers are a fucking pain in the ass to convert for bathrooms. So I don't know. Without looking at your proper sales process, i.e., looking in the CRM, watching the looms that you're sending out, looking at the communications you're having with these customers, there's got to be something you're doing wrong as well. I think it's going to be a mixture of the two. I think you're probably doing something wrong somewhere, and it's the wrong time of year as well. So, but I think that booking a call with Lee, I'll ask Lee to review this and look at what's going on here in more detail. Because as Darren said before in his check-in, if customer understands value, they don't moan about the cost. Now, when a customer's, you're saying here that this is a repetitive issue by the sounds of it. So you're not demonstrating the value of what it is you're doing or offering. Definitely something in there somewhere is telling me that. So, and this is where people say about price all the time, like, and even it took me years to even believe this statement, but it is true. If you don't do a good enough job of demonstrating the value, you'll always be pushed back on price. Always. When you demonstrate the value, the price becomes hardly ever an issue. And if you're getting repetitive price issues, you are doing something wrong, because you shouldn't be getting that for you. You're not you. Some people are going, I understand, I can see that, because you're not where you need to be, but you are. You shouldn't be having that problem. So there's something's not clicking. Either it's a recent trend. It sounds like it's more of a recent thing. There's a few things bubbling all at the same time here. So, or has it always been the case? I'm feeling like it's not always been the case. So, go back to when it wasn't the case. What was I doing differently then? What have I changed? The answers are all in there, but we will dig into this more with you. And then looking at other contractors' quotes on prices, don't even do that, mate. As soon as you start looking at other people's prices and thinking, I can't get near them, good, fuck them. You don't need to, because the point I've just made is that we focus on demonstrating the value. You're going to be comparing yourself to people who aren't at your level, don't have your sales process, don't have your sort of website presence, don't have the sales. You just don't have what you've got. So don't compare yourself to these people, please. Your baseline cost and the markup shouldn't be that much different to other people. So you're either fucking around with the wrong customers, or something's not right here. Something is not right. So we need to get to the bottom of this. But it ain't you or what. Well, it will be what you're doing, but it ain't you, and it's something to do with the customer or something you're doing in the sales process that's wrong. Something's off here. Something's off big time, and we will get to the bottom of it. But again, this is a snapshot of there's a few things here that are bubbling, but it will turn out to be a storm in a teacup. Just don't get too emotional about it, because there's loads of other stuff happening as well that's really good. So I'm feeling like we've done well here. There's loads of stuff that I'm happy with. All the stuff that isn't that I'm not happy, they're just things that are going on up here with you. If all these problems that you've got sit between these fucking two ears, there's not really a problem out there in the real world. There's nothing wrong in the real world. The problems are in your head. Not that they're not there, but they're up here. So we need to get them out. We need to get through that. And again, these are the easiest problems to solve, because you're already sort of telling us what they are. So finding a solution shouldn't be too difficult. I hope that helps. If you do need any help with your check-ins tonight, obviously use your WhatsApp groups. Now, we've been on for an hour and a half. I'm going to sign off. We've covered the event. We've covered this alcohol topic, which needed to be covered, and just obviously the culture in our country and the way it is, and how we get swayed into these things quite easily. So, I hope that was useful to people, and the check-ins are really good tonight. Like I say, everyone, I've got no major concerns really. I know there's a few issues to sort out, but there's no major concerns in the grand scheme of things. Everything that's in them check-ins tonight will get sorted out. But keep the check-ins coming. Again, some get done off the clinics. I pick the right ones for the clinic. So, keep them coming, okay? Make sure you've got the 16th of Jan in your diary, and make sure that you're using your WhatsApp groups. I'll see you next Wednesday on the KBB stream, all right? So take care of yourselves. See you in a bit. Bye-bye.